Hey guys, welcome to Faz Radio. Let's get started. All right, this is a continuation of what we were talking about last time. With crypto and with NFTs, practical value matters. What I've been noticing about NFTs lately is that NFTs, if you have one NFT or a couple NFTs, you can get an airdrop, or you can perhaps combine it with another NFT to get a something else, or it unlocks functionality in a game, or you can even have an NFT act as a deed to a house. You know, the NFTs with functionality, those are coming, and some are already here.
Well, you have to figure out where the value is coming from, though, because if you buy NFTs for your favorite game that add functionality, those are only valuable to the people who play the game. They're not going to be valuable to anybody else.
Yeah, but if the people who play the game have a lot of money and the game is popular, then even if you're not playing the game, it might be worth it for you to buy some so that you can make it available to others that play the game. I mean,
Right.
it's like being an ice cream man. The ice cream man might be lactose intolerant, but yet he has ice creams for everybody else. So same deal.
Well, when you factor in, though, the flood of them now, so everybody and their brother is going to www.createmyownNFT.com and creating just garbage and minting these things. And there's 45 billion NFTs on the market. It's also, I think, going to shrink that market as a whole and pull down and put at least downward pressure on a lot of these other NFTs that are worth a lot. You have the same problem when new artists come out, and you'll hear artists complain about this all the time. People that get into a gallery have to be vetted just right, because if you let too many of the people into the art gallery carries that credibility that they only have very, very good artists. So if you get admitted to that gallery, you are considered a very good artist, and it will then drain some of the value away from the artists who already have their work there. So if the whole pool of NFTs, whether it's the subgenre of gaming or pictures or drawings or paintings, if you flood the market with what are deemed credible, and by credible, we mean it has a blockchain hash and it shows up on nifty.com, which is technically not, but is perceived to be more of a valuable resource to put your NFT on than OpenSea. How does that change the game for NFTs?
Well, gee, you know, cry me a river. This has been the case in publishing books since books came about. Everybody and their brother can make a book, and they have been able to for a while, and they could definitely do it now more, especially with Amazon allowing you to make books and sell books. You know, the book market has been flooded with crap, and really, think about a new book that you buy. The last book that I bought that I recall wanting to buy just because I wanted to buy it was the Martian. So about the guy going to Mars and living on Mars for a little while and then getting back. Why did I go for that book? I didn't. There's millions of books out there. Why did I go for that one? Because I heard it on the news. I heard it from friends. I saw it online. I kept seeing it everywhere. It became popular somehow, and it became popular probably because it was good. But somebody made a recommendation, and everybody else started reading it, and it got really good. You could say the same thing about 50 Shades of Grey, and a lot of other books out there, which Harry Potter. Somehow they got famous within that sea of books out there. And then when you interview them later, when they become popular, you start saying, you ask them, how did this happen? Most of the authors go, I don't know. I just made a deal with so and so. We put it on our local school board. I think with Harry Potter, actually, it was done originally through Scholastic Books. And Scholastic Books, I'm sure you know from ordering books as a kid, it's more of an educational kind of thing, but they have a wide reach. And so you wouldn't think that it would go around the world, but a lot of people, educators started finding it to be a very interesting book. And of course, Scholastic Books just kind of went out from there. And I mean, it just caught fire. So I can't explain how something catches fire. It just has to be new, different, what society seems to need. I personally like the idea of buying NFTs that have value, some sort of additional value, like a game NFT, because the game may be popular, it may not be popular. The NFT is still useful. However, I still do buy popular NFTs just because they're popular, because I figure that, they'd be good to have for that reason.
Yeah. So really, I think what we're finding and even what we're discussing is it's going to be so ridiculously subjective that it doesn't really matter what the NFT is. There's some external force, whether it be the creator, the owner, the
A
news
random
media,
external force.
right?
Nobody can predict it.
Any random force could make something more popular. So if that's the case, I can see why the market is being flooded, because the other big one that was going around was the penguins about a week or two ago. This guy created a bunch of these funny penguins doing stuff, and those things were selling for tens of thousands of dollars. But what my fear is with this, of course, is that you jump on the hype train, you take your $12,000 and you buy into the penguin. And 5 years from now, there's no longer penguins. You have more utility uses with this. You have homes being on there. You have cars being on there. And suddenly a penguin is worth 18 cents.
Well, your
So,
comparison, you're making a bad comparison, because it's like you saying, because paper exists, there's lots of paper out there, and pictures are going to be worth less than mortgages, and that's wrong. Pictures have their own subgenre on paper, on the vehicle medium of paper, that separates it from mortgages. Mortgages are only valuable to the person who's purchased the mortgage. You're not going to find people buying and selling mortgages just because they're popular. Well, maybe 100 years from now for old original NFT mortgages, but a mortgage NFT is only valuable to the person that owns it. And that's going to show probably a paper trail and provenance. If you possess the building, obviously you have a claim to that building as well. In the court of law, possession is 9/10 of the law. So if somehow somebody takes your NFT, the provenance of that NFT might not outweigh your physical possession. So whatever the case is, I don't think a mortgage can compete with art. They're two separate things. So
okay.
NFTs are just a medium of
So
contracts, a medium of, whatever.
so let's use real world examples. You like the gaming, so let's talk about gaming. There was this wonderful game that was in development for 7 years that was hyped up to be an immaculate, the world's greatest invention. No one had ever done like this before.
More than one game.
And it raised over $3 billion. And
Never
it
heard of this.
launched, and people spent tons of money. Now, they didn't have NFTs, obviously, but if they could have, I'll bet you they would have. And they would have sold ridiculous amounts of NFTs. And the game came out, and it was horrible.
What game was this?
Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. I was
All
about
right.
to say that.
And what would have happened to the $30,000 of NFTs that you bought for that game, they would be worthless today.
Yep.
Now, there might be some intrinsic value left in it because it's a collector's item. You could say, well, I have some of the original Cyberpunk 2077 game NFTs, and instead of it being worth 4,000 like where you bought it and hoping to make more on it, it might be worth $500. So I get that part, and I know you've argued that in the past. Well, I have a collector's item. Collector's items have value. Okay, not anywhere near as much as you would expect it to have had the game actually turned out. So just saying, oh, it has collector's value doesn't necessarily mean, and in a lot of cases, what we're seeing, I think, is that it's worth a lot less than if it was actually a true statement. So
I'm going to say that depends. So you have a good point. However, I can point to cult TV shows, for example, that come back, or cult TV shows that are worth, that are much more appreciated after they're gone. I'll use Firefly as an example. Firefly came out. It was a very good show. Have you heard of Firefly?
never.
I strongly recommend it went one season. Go rent online Firefly. Nathan Fillion is the main character. It's an awesome show. It went one season, and the network really mishandled it, and then it got canceled. They became a cult classic. Star Trek was something that was also canceled by the network. It was deemed not very valuable or good, and it took years of fans writing in to networks to get the show show to come back, and it was turned into a movie, which promptly sucked, and then more movies came out and became more popular. The thing about Cyberpunk 2077 is it's out there. Now that it is out there, and I'm not familiar with as far as Cyberpunk 2077, I'm not familiar with it making billions of dollars, or it people buying into this. I'm not aware of that even having a money raised capability about it. There's no money raising capability that I'm aware of, and I followed Cyberpunk 2077 since 2011. They teased it for many years, just with a teaser, but then they were quiet about it, and it came out, and it went through the floor. However, now that it's out there, they actually have something to improve. Once you put IP out there, now it's up to you to make it better. So now that they put it out there and people are using it, they still like the idea. Cyberpunk 2077 is an excellent idea, of a game. If they simply fix the glitchy stuff, they can turn it around and it can become one of the most popular games, and then it will be known for its terrible introduction. You can do the same thing with an NFT. It can come out there, it can get CryptoPunks is a great example. I believe they were giving them away for free originally. They were, or you just claim them for a couple bucks. But CryptoPunks wasn't popular back then. It was just, hey, I've made some auto-generated NFTs. And then they gave them away, or people got them, and then over the years they wound up getting popular. So when you talk about, well, people can hype this up, you can spend a lot of money, and then it all gets wasted when it comes out, that's not the right angle to look at intellectual property being put out in the world. Intellectual property is as good as you can maintain it. If you do a good job of promoting it, it will become worth a lot. If you do a crappy job of promoting it, it'll be worth crap. Some games, some TV shows even have moved to a different network and then become more popular. So I bet that if Cyberpunk 2077 were to get sold to somebody else and then they were to improve it, it could be considered one of the best games of all time. And then it would just be part of its mystique that it was such a crappy original game. It was the second people who took it up that made it better. The same thing's going to happen with NFTs, I think.
Well, that's entirely possible. Any game can
Come
be
back.
transferred, be transferred to somebody else who can develop it a little bit better. That goes back to our conversations when we first started talking crypto a year ago, where you got me into all this and started me looking in, deeper into how these online games and so forth were transferring to blockchain. And I said, you really, you got to go all the way back. If you were to take Neopets and turn it into an NFT game, I think you'd be a billionaire. So if you had the idea originally and it was maybe successful or maybe not as successful, could it be better modernizing something like that into today's world? Absolutely. So, but my point being is we have the initial development. We have a game that's out there today that is developed and released. You talk about things like Decentraland, right? You look at it and you go, I've tried playing it myself, so I have firsthand experience.
Like crap.
It does. It's horrible. I had this big anticipation, and then I go and I'm looking. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I need. It's telling me to name my character. Well, I have to go buy a license, an NFT, to name my character. I'm like, it was ridiculous. It was like $47 to buy a name, and I'm like, I'm not paying $47 to create a name for my character. And I said, oh, well, wait, if I don't like that name, I can sell that name for $50 to cover my gas fees. Back then when gas was cheap, I could sell it for $50 and buy a new name for $100. Oh, that's really cool. And if I spend $250, I can pick my own name, and then I can own that. And when I don't want that name anymore, maybe it's popular, I can resell it. So the initial shock, I think, when you dive deeper into NFTs and you find out, I think, more than the surface of what it's all about, it could be worth more as well, because you can justify at least a $47 name for your character when you realize, hey, I can turn this back in and hopefully get reasonably expect to get my $50 back when I'll be buying something a little bit different. And the demand for those may or may not be there. Now, if the game Decentraland continues to be crap, well, I don't think $47 is a reasonable expectation anymore. And we can apply this to any platform out there that's releasing games or NFTs or anything else. And you bring up a fantastic point, and this relates directly back to your own NFT project with ZipBugs, is the ability to potentially expand the use for that NFT. And down the road, should you decide to add the ability to buy expansion packs to give different attributes, or to put a hat on it, or to put it into a game, or to make them age, or anything like that, the functionality could make them inherently more valuable down the road than they are even today. So do we look at NFTs as a long-term investment based on what the potential that they could be are? Does the creator leave that open, or does the creator lock it so that it's just that picture forever, nobody can ever change it? Or do they leave that open with risk, of course, that the person who owns that could change it out or could improve it themselves? Do we want to encourage the open source nature of what blockchain is, and let NFTs be open source, and people can then determine whatever it is they want to do with these NFTs down the road? That's an exciting possibility as well, too.
I like that idea, actually, making the NFTs modifiable, because it might be that, say you have a crappy set of NFTs, and if somebody can improve them, that would give them value. So let me give an example. There are model makers all over the place that make various models. I'm on some of those Facebook groups, and I know that somebody will buy an old model and then they'll make it into something different. And especially if a new ship comes out, on Star Trek say, you can't find that ship as a model. But what you can do is it's called kit bashing, where you can grab a couple kits and then you can put together that new model from the pieces of the old one. Because Star Trek tends to follow the same design patterns for its new ships. So it's like, oh, let's get the Enterprise, and then we've got the Reliant, and then we mash those together. We can get this third ship, which is on the new episode, or better yet, a set of a creation of their own. And so if maybe I put out my zip bugs and I make them so that they're modifiable, which right now I don't know how to do that, and I'm not sure how, but that's an idea. Somebody could come along and start refurbishing zip bugs for a living. They make them into something better. They apply something to it, and that makes them worth more. Well, it's out of my control at that point. I'm just the zip bugs might become valuable because they can be refurbished. You could buy yourself maybe a Chevy Colorado right now and swap out a few parts and make it into a hot rod. Yeah, kind of weird making a truck into a hot rod, but I mean, they make third-party kits for vehicles to where you can trick them out, and you can't sell the vehicle like that because the company has decided they either don't want to do that or it'll get them into trouble or something like that. But it might be that you can upgrade. There are many upgrades sold to existing products out there that makes them better, and then those upgrades become worth a lot of money. But it kind of also affects the actual original item too.
So this is limitless, truly. So if you want to take this to an extreme, let me give you an example of the extreme. If you owned Legos, right? You were the owners. You were those two fine gentlemen, the Kirkbys that own Legos. You could sell NFT of Lego packs, and whatever packs you buy, whatever creations you make from those, you could sell as the NFT, and they're still getting the royalties on the original Lego packs. So they can get 5% or 3% or whatever they want to put in there for these Lego packs. And whatever creations you make out of their Lego packs could then become NFTs on their own. Well, does that, as you were talking about, that's what sparked it, is could you then diminish the value of going to Toys R Us and getting a box of Legos? Legos are ridiculously expensive. Would that affect the sale price of their physical Legos?
Yes. What would happen actually is if the modification became more valuable than the original, then you're going to find out that the originals will sell out like that. If you can modify a Barbie and make it 10 times more valuable, you're going to find that Barbie's hard to find. Now, the people who make Barbie either have no knowledge of it or they haven't integrated in their business process, and they're just printing the number of Barbies that they normally print. And then one particular Barbie becomes extremely rare. They might try to take advantage of that and print more, but you actually start getting into security issues if they specifically print them to be modified. One example that I have actually of this is Ms. Pac-Man. Ms. Pac-Man was not made by Namco, the people who made, or is it Midway? I forget. I'll just not say names and that'll be better. Ms. Pac-Man was not made by the people who made Pac-Man. Pac-Man was made, they put it out there, and then another team came along and decided that they would make an add-on, that they would sell an add-on for Pac-Man called Ms. Pac-Man. And it was like you had to take a Pac-Man motherboard and you had to add another board to it. And of course, you had to make a different arcade cabinet and, decorate it differently and so on. And so they did this. They actually started a company to do this. And they made quite a lot of money as an add-on. And I believe eventually, the people who made Pac-Man eventually either licensed it from them or bought it from them. I think it's licensed. I think they licensed Miss Pac-Man from them. And then there's a big court case around who owned what and who should make money and stuff like that. But the end result of this court case was the people who modified Ms. Pac-Man or modified Pac-Man and made Ms. Pac-Man, they were completely within their right to do so, and it had no effect on Pac-Man. But it did make Pac-Man more popular, and it probably made the units more rare because they needed units to modify for Ms. Pac-Man. Nowadays, I'm seeing Commodore 64s. They're being brought back from the dead. You need to find useful Commodore 64s to do that. There's even a chip inside the Commodore 64 called a SID chip, the sound interface device chip, which is more valuable than the computer itself because people have been using that for techno music remixing. And so if you find a Commodore 64, you grab that chip out, and you build a remixer around it. That remixer is very, very, very valuable. So you're actually, if you ever find a Commodore 64 at a garage sale or whatever, buy it. You'll be able to sell the SID chip alone for several $100s because somebody will be able to reuse that and remake it into something else. I would love NFTs to get to that point. It would show that they have real value, that other people can take it. And so if somebody can modify my zip bugs and make it into something better, that'll increase the usefulness of my zip bugs. People will want my zip bugs, if only to modify them.
Well, maybe try playing around with some of that then, and try to figure out how to mint it with an open back end. I don't know. I couldn't even begin.
Well, that's an option. I'll have to look into the.
Well,
I'll have to look into that.
Just like on
Discord,
right? Well, I mean, just like with Discord this morning, one of my problems lately has been the same that I think a lot of other people's problem is the same. So you read halfway into something and you don't finish reading it, so you get an impression on something without getting the whole story. And I know they talked about wanting to take the exemplar, and I said, well, hey, just throw it on the Poly network and sell it that way. Okay, well, I didn't read deep enough into that. You can take an NFT, and Poly is just a layer 2 part of ETH, and so you can modify the NFT and kick it over to Poly. Well,
Polygon.
Only if you are the creator, not technically the owner. And it depends on how the contract was written, whether or not you'll have permission to do that. So I didn't read far enough into it. So I think with a lot of this, because it's coming so fast and so furious, with NFTs especially, but this even applies to coins and tokens, people are only reading halfway into it. We can take that even to the most extreme example where we were all kicking ourselves yesterday about these strong nodes. When we all originally researched them, we did some research, we did some reading, and we thought, hey, there's too many open questions here.
You need to introduce these subjects you're talking about a little bit more, because people at home might not know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're right. So we discovered, basically, I'm not going to go too deep into this. I don't want to get into a switch of topics so much, as just talking about the basic premise of not reading enough. So when we read today, or when we read yesterday, deeper into the strong node platform, it kind of clicked with me when I started reading deeper into that platform. And I says, boy, I could kick myself now. We had a basic understanding of it before, and we all thought, hey, not such a great idea. And then once we get the full picture and we understand the full picture, boy, we'd be looted at this point had we probably gone that direction in the first place and just done the research all the way through. It comes so fast and furious, and we're so impatient, and we want to jump on every opportunity because everything is so new. And I think that's hurting us. I think we need to all take a very deep look into any of these projects, especially with NFTs, with all these options that are available and everything we've talked about today. we have to go very, very deep before making a judgment on whether or not it's valuable, whether or not it's a good thing, and whether or not we want to spend our money on it.
Well, let's play the flip side of that because it exists. I'm the first person to suggest that you do a lot of research on what you get into. There is, however, value in speculation, and I'll use this morning as an example. This morning I got up a bit late, and I saw that a friend of mine online had said, "Take a look at this." You might have been privy to this, but I don't want to say the friend. They said, "Take a look at this," and they were basically these things called one-day punks. Apparently, they were being generated for 1 day, and you get one per wallet, and they're free to mint, but you have to pay gas fees. And things like this tend to happen really quick, and I had to make a snap judgment because there were 10,000 that would be made, and they were, when I was in bed in my phone, 9,700 had been minted. So I got my ass up and I ran to my office, which is out in my backyard, fired up my computer, got a transaction through, or got a purchase through. So I purchased that, and it was one per wallet. So I actually switched to another wallet, and I was going to buy another one. But by that time, they had all been sold out. So what I had to do in that case is I trusted my friend's judgment, and I paid $300 in gas, so let's hope that it pans out. And I'm saying one-day punks right now, so people listening far in the future can either think that I was a really smart guy or a really stupid one for buying these. If they never heard of them, I guess I'm stupid. But things like this lately have been worth a fuck ton of money. So, I've been seeing some of these drops happening. They sell out in about 5 minutes. And then you find them online selling for like 2,200 Ethereum. If one day punk sells for 2,200 Ethereum, I'm going to sell it. Now, right now, so some people, if you go and look online, even now, today, the day that they sold out, I'm finding one day punks on sale for 100 Ethereum. I don't know if they've been bought for that amount, but the vast majority are being sold for like 0.1 Ethereum and so on. So it sounds like I'll get at least my money back if I sold it right now. If they turn into nothing, then it's just a gamble. But, some of these things you don't have time to look into because they're socially organized. How can you really do research on an ape? A picture of an ape or a picture of a banana or a picture of a penguin and think this penguin is better than this little zip bug. And,
right.
The reason is somebody somehow got more people interested in penguins. And I've advertised the shit out of zip bugs. I haven't paid for advertisement. I put it on Twitter. I've sent it in Discords and people occasionally be like, "Hey, that's really cool." But no one buys. Except for you, of course. Because,
yeah, I mean, it just depends. Everything is subjective. You could do the same thing with your zip bugs. You could create 500 zip bugs and do a wild release just like they did with the one day punks and create that series.
Contract. That was a contract that enforced that rule. At the moment, I don't know how to write those contracts.
Well, but still, you could do one day zip bugs, and you could do a yearly series on that and do it once a year, and then they're collector's items as that as well. So we always talk about your zip bugs and the potential that they have, and I'm sure you get 5,000 different ideas from 40 different people. And it's literally limitless. You could do anything like that, and it could be a huge success or it could be a huge flop. You just don't know.
Okay, it's worth mentioning that when these zip bugs, when I first put them on sale a long time ago, I did an advertisement on Twitter, and it said, "Okay, for the first 2 people who see this message, I will give you a free zip bug." I've gotten 0 responses from that. Obviously, because I didn't have a big reach. Tweet's still there. I mean, if you were to go back and ask for me to send you a zip bug, I'll send you one. But you have to show me the tweet. So the thing is, what do they have that I didn't? Well, obviously they have some sort of reach that I didn't, and that reach was probably a social reach. I guess you could say my zip bugs have more of an organic reach. And the question we should be asking is, all these apes and bananas and penguins and whales, how are they getting their reach? Are they paying people? That's the question you got to answer.
Well, I think that would be a yes. And it's generally crypto Twitter, at least with the penguins and the rocks and all that stuff.
The
It's
rocks got
the
popular, in my opinion, because Justin Sun decided to buy one for 100 Ethereum.
right. So it's that type of thing. So if you find something that one of those influencers thinks is cool, and it could be, for all we know, a social experiment, just like you do your social experiments. It could be
You might want to give some
them
background to that if you're going
doing
to throw
some
those in.
social experiments. Well, I don't want to go too far off topic. We're talking NFTs. So with that, they decided, well, let's see. If I tweet out that I spent 200 Ethereum on a rock, let's see how many other people will buy them or offer to buy them just out of that. So it could be one of 100 different things. I mean, really, you just don't know. You never know. You might never know.
Right. So I think we've kind of ground to a halt on this NFT thing as to why they're worth the amount of money that they are. I think the true answer is I don't know. Or the true answer is what we started out with you saying, is because somebody will pay money for it. And there's a variety of ways that people will pay money for art. But I don't think you can understand art. It's subjective.
It is.
You're going to find art that, I've heard that there's Trump art, Trump NFTs, there's Jesus NFTs, there's you name it. There's an NFT for everyone. So would I pay for a Trump or a Jesus NFT? Probably not. But I would pay for other ones that those people wouldn't. So
Right.
it just really depends upon what you want. And I think NFTs will get a lot more valuable when you can have, I would say, dedicated custom viewers for it. Say you could have a picture frame in your house that can display an NFT, and maybe this is a branded picture frame that it can only display NFTs. It's like, ooh, you have one of those frames. That NFT is obviously yours.